Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock. Colin Cowherd is off today. Coming up, we'll discuss the incredible performances by LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. Plus, I'll tell you why digging up old tweets by Josh Allen is a waste of time. Speak for yourself starts now. Oh, it's almost Friday. The draft is here. I am excited. Hello and welcome. Cowherd is currently in the Chargers war room. Chargers fans, be worried, very worried. All right, joining me today to help break down the NFL draft, which airs in just a few hours on Fox, are a couple of former NFL stars, Seth Joyner, D'Angelo Hall. All right, let's go to Dallas, where, incredibly, our buddy Peter Schrager reported this morning that there is a very real possibility the Browns will select Baker Mayfield with the first overall pick in today's draft. A month ago, the idea of Baker going first was laughable, but even Vegas is now buying in, with Baker becoming the clear favorite overnight. This, gentlemen, blows my mind. And not because I'm anti-Baker Mayfield. It's because the Browns have already been down this road. Johnny Manziel, undersized quarterback, big personality, cocky, in a little bit of trouble before he got to the NFL. And all the same things are true about Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying Baker Mayfield is going to be Johnny Manziel. But if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm the one franchise that says, tried that once, let someone else do it this time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you 100%. I'm not saying Baker Mayfield is a bust, or I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. I'm simply saying you have a guy in Tyrod Taylor there that it was a lot of fanfare around that trade when they pulled it off. Jarvis Landry was part of it. He was all in on it. A lot of guys in that locker room are all in on Tyrod Taylor. And for you to sit here and tell me months after acquiring him via trade and saying he's the guy that, hey, you're already ready to replace him, when we have 41-year-old quarterback, 37, 39-year-old quarterbacks in this league who are given the opportunity to be a quarterback over a long period of time. And I just think they have so many other glaring holes and needs. I would like to see them address those needs and say, hey, we're going to rock with Tyrod for a little while, and let's see if he flourishes in our scheme or not, instead of bringing in an unproven commodity.
Now, are you and Tyrod both Virginia Tech alum?
We are. But this has nothing to do with that. You guys have seen me get on this set, and I try to spit it as true as I can. That's the only way I can go to sleep at night.
I'm anti-Baker, but I'm not sure if I'm going with the future.
I'm not
anti-Baker
simply because, listen, I think that every one of us has had our prodigal son seasons, okay? And these young kids coming out of college, they're going to have those seasons. Do they need to come to the end of themselves to get to a point where they begin to mature? Do they need to have a good support system put around them? In my opinion, Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback coming out of this class, with the exception of but Lamar Jackson being right there close to him. They're all projects. They're all guys that are going to take time to get on the field. And you got to think long term. Tyrod started in Baltimore. He went to Buffalo. And now, granted, the dynamics weren't perfect for him to succeed in those situations, but he still hasn't proven that he can be that guy. So you have to look long term. Will the Browns be in this situation again? Probably, okay? But to have these many quarterbacks and a guy like Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, be in this position, I think he's the guy for that organization.
Let me share something with you about Big 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's look at this list of recent Big 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. Hopefully Patrick Mahomes is going to be a star in Kansas City, but we don't know. The rest of that list is ugly. Big 12 doesn't play a lot of defense. Again, I like Baker Mayfield everywhere but Cleveland.
Yeah, that's the running joke in locker rooms when we're in there joking amongst each other. Is any DB who comes from the Big 12, like, don't even come in here talking, because we know y'all don't play defense in that conference. You look at those quarterbacks, all great numbers, but those offenses are all gimmicky college style. Let's throw the ball all over the place, and you know what I mean? It's not a real pro-style type of offense that can translate to the NFL game.
Well, but I mean, that's today's NFL. There's very few organizations that take these quarterbacks out of systems that are spread offenses and develop them. And that's the problem. They go and they get them, they bring them in, they adjust what they do offensively to what this kid did in college. Now, listen, they have to.
Size doesn't bother you, Seth?
Listen, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, come on, man.
There's always exceptions to the rule. Those guys, I feel, are exceptions to the rule.
They are exceptions to the rule, but what they do is when Russell Wilson came in, what did they give him? They gave him a running game. Drew Brees, he brought him along the proper way with the right coach in Sean Payton.
Seth, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, two of the most buttoned-up quarterbacks to ever hit the NFL. Baker Mayfield's not buttoned up.
Let me ask you a question, Jason.
Yeah.
Listen. Look at where you were and where you are now. Were you buttoned up way back in the day?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And that's why I wasn't a first-round draft pick.
I understand that. But could you have been that first-round draft pick, looking back at where you were and where you are now, understanding the growth that took place?
Seth, it took me a long time to mature.
I understand that.
A lot of this is going to be luck, too. Whichever one of these quarterbacks go to the most stable organization that has a plan that they're going to stick with the plan to really cultivate that quarterback, they're going to be in the best shape. Some of this is really just luck of the draw. I fear that Baker will end up in Cleveland, and it just won't be the right situation.
It's all luck of the draw. You want to know why? Because when you're drafting, it's a crapshoot because you just don't know. You don't know what's in here 100%, and you don't know what's in here 100%.
Can we cut this tape and send this to Tyrod? I think D'Angelo, I appreciate that. There's a new boss in town at Buffalo Wild Wings, and he deals in bacon. It's the Bacon Boss Burger, featuring bacon 3 different ways and a blanket of white cheese sauce. And he's joined by other new favorites like the smothered cheesesteak quesadilla, sweet chili shrimp, and Alaska cod classic. All pair perfectly with a Sam 76, a fruity ale with the crisp finish of a lager. Hurry in today and try them all before they're gone at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Available for a limited time while supplies last. Please drink responsibly. All right, to a quarterback whose stock appears to be falling, Josh Allen. The Wyoming star has long been projected among the top picks in this year's draft until some racially insensitive tweets from when Allen was in high school surfaced last night. Allen reportedly apologized to Stephen A. Smith, saying he was young and dumb, but the damage to Allen's prospects may already be done. I don't think this is going to have any impact because I think NFL general managers and coaches, somebody's got to be smart enough to say what this kid tweeted, rap lyrics, stuff from a television show or a movie, is irrelevant and should not even be talked about or discussed. When I think about the things I did in high school, far worse than a handful of tweets repeating rap lyrics or some movie. I did some really stupid, bad things, and I don't want to be held accountable for them 30, 40 years later, or even 10 years or 5 years later in Josh Allen's case.
You know, Jason, when I first caught wind of this, it kind of, before I read the tweets, kind of made me feel some type of way. And then I went and I read the tweets, and I'm like, okay, listen, we live in a culture now where all ethnicities are listening to rap music. My problem is this young man's social unawareness of understanding that he
16, 17?
Come on, man. It's out there every day. It's on social media. It's in the news. It's everywhere. So your inability to be socially aware that as a Caucasian young teenager, that you shouldn't be using words like this on social media. Now, the question is for me, for these teams, you got to look at it just a little bit deeper. You know, if it's not just the rap lyrics, is this something that's in his DNA when he's going to walk into a locker room with 65% of the players in the NFL being African American?
He would not be the first to walk in with that in his DNA if that were true, and I don't think it's true.
Yeah, I understand that, but you're talking about this guy being the face of your franchise.
Wouldn't be the first quarterback.
I understand that. It still has to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth because I'm relatively young still, and so it wasn't too far removed from those high school days of just having fun and saying some things you probably don't mean, but just taking it with a grain of salt too. At the same time, it's different because the society we live in now, it is a social media society where things are, you can take a picture of it. Even though you delete a tweet, it's still out there in the world, and so. A couple years ago, I think I was in D.C. when Riley Cooper made some comments, some insensitive comments at a concert, and playing against him, I was mad. I wanted to choke him out. I couldn't wait to play against him. But seeing how his teammates kind of rallied behind him and saw, that's the Riley they see every day. Is not the
Another
one
Virginia
we saw.
Tech guy rallied behind him. Go ahead.
Who is that? Who? Mike Vick.
Mike Vick. But I think
But I'm just
D'Angelo
saying, in
makes
the
a
locker
great point.
room,
Yeah.
guys, you've seen it on the field. Guys sit there and fight, and I mean, it is some of the hardest blows you ever seen on the field.
Right.
5 minutes later, they're hugging it out. They're talking. We don't tend to hold too many grudges in that locker room because we know at some point we're all going to be on the same side. No matter how grueling training camp and some of those other things get, your teammates are always going to be those first guys to come get you back when you're in trouble. And so I see them rallying behind Josh in this particular instance. But he has to prove it. He has to go into that locker room humbled, and those guys have to believe in him and that's not the real him.
I like your point about Michael Vick and them rallying around Riley Cooper, and I respected that and appreciated it at the time. But I want to be clear, what Riley Cooper did to me, far worse than what Josh Allen did.
Absolutely.
And so if we can
forgive
that, this is nothing. And again, I go back to what I did in high school, and I remember bullying a kid deliberately for 6-7 months. One of the most shameful acts of my life. I don't want to be held accountable for that now. That was something I did as an idiot in high school. There's a lot of things kids do in high school that we should not hold against them, in particular 24, 48 hours before the draft. I really want to crucify the people that dug this up and tried to shame this kid before the biggest night of his life. Because they're the people, to me, that should be held accountable and we should be punishing, trying to embarrass this kid the night before his biggest night of his life. Embarrassing. All right, welcome back. Seth Joyner, D'Angelo Hall are back. Let's return to the draft, where the Giants have the number 2 overall pick tonight, but are expected to pass on one of this year's highly touted quarterbacks and instead select Penn State's Saquon Barkley, with Giants' new GM Dave Gettleman saying, quote, "If you miss on a quarterback, you've hurt the franchise for 5 years." I don't, that's not the logic. That's fear.
Yeah,
oh my God, if we miss on the quarterback, it's messed up. That's fear-based. I don't think they should draft a quarterback if they don't believe one of these guys can play and can be the guy. If they have questions about all these quarterbacks and you feel certain Saquon Barkley's going to be a Pro Bowl level running back, make that pick. But fear should not be driving you of, oh my God, we've ruined the franchise for 5 years, we miss on a quarterback. If Gettleman sees one of these quarterbacks think they had the potential, they need to go get him because Eli's too old and we know Eli's past his prime.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. If they believe in a quarterback, they have to draft him. I think Saquon Barkley is a star, will be a star. But the running back position is one that, is a dime a dozen. You can find good running backs later in the draft. You don't draft them top 5, top 10.
Emmitt Smith watches this program.
I know he does, and he's a great running back.
A dime a dozen?
But I'm just saying, that offense is not going to sit back there and hand the ball off 25, 30 times a game. That's just not who they are. Having played against them for 10 years, that's not who they are. They live in a nickel package, which is 3 wide receivers on the field at all times, a tight end, and a running back. They don't live in that power I run game where we're going to sit here and feature our running back. I think Eli Manning is getting kind of old. He's getting long in the tooth. He was in my draft, and I'm 34. He's 37. He has a little bit of football left, but I don't think he has a whole lot of football left. So I would go ahead and draft his replacement, knowing he's going to sit behind Eli for a year, maybe 2. The way to win Super Bowls isn't paying your quarterback $25 to $30 million. is to capitalize when you have a young quarterback whose salary isn't very high and you can put a lot of pieces around him. Seattle showed us.
Tom Brady
the Rams are
watches this
doing it
program,
right
right?
now.
You know
Yes,
Tom Brady
and the
watches
reason
this
Tom Brady has been successful is because he's taken that pay cut that's required to put other pieces around you and win. He's never made more than $20 million, and we're paying average quarterbacks $25.
Well, I'm a little more old school in my thinking. I like Saquon Barkley at this spot. I believe that Eli's got another year or two in him, okay? And it's going to take time to develop a quarterback. And then it always comes down when you're chasing Super Bowls how ready as a complete team you are. I don't think the Giants are 100% there. You know, you let two really good players on defense go. Clearly they're in rebuild mode. I just think that, you know, a quarterback I like what Gettleman said. Quote, devaluing the running back position is really a myth. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I think these offensive coordinators that want to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, they've been the one to solidify this myth. The other thing is, he said, a great running back, he immediately makes your quarterback better, your offensive line better, and your passing game better. And in my opinion, look at Ezekiel Elliott. Look what he did to help Dak. And when all of a sudden he wasn't there, what happened to Dak? Look at Jared Goff. He got year one Todd Gurley instead of year two Todd Gurley, and look how the Rams exploded. So in my opinion, you leave Eli right there. Give him a better offensive line, give him some more weapons, and give him a running back like Saquon Barkley that can take the pressure off and allow him to be a play-action passer to be more dominant.
Seth, and I don't want to go diamond. I'm not going diamond, doesn't it? A running back can help an offensive line. But as a former mediocre college football offensive lineman, Saquon, the Giants' offensive line, you can put O.J., Eric Dickerson, and Earl Campbell all in the backfield. If their offensive line doesn't improve, the running game is just not going to happen.
I agree.
And so that's where if Dave Gettleman is sitting there saying, you know what, I like Sam Darnold, but if I miss, you know, it's going to set us back. That's stupid logic.
I agree.
Nothing fear-based. And so, now again, if he's sitting there saying, I don't like any of these guys, go ahead and take Saquon Barkley, but they better improve that offensive line because Saquon Barkley is not going to make magic happen up front.
Well,
and if there's no magic up front,
to me,
there's no magic in the backfield.
To me, you can look at the offensive line as a reason why Eli played so bad last year. He had nothing and no running game.
Eli's always been inaccurate.
I mean, he has been. But when Eli's had a good defense, a halfway decent running game, and some protection, he's been awfully productive. You know, but you got to get back to giving him that. And I think the running back position is the way that you help get there. And then, obviously, yeah, they've got to improve the offensive line.
They signed Nate Solder, so they've made some improvements with the offensive line. All right, welcome back to the show. We're joined now by Christine Leahy, longtime NBA veteran Rod Strickland, and the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the NBA, where LeBron James put on a show last night, dropping 44 points, making a game-saving block, and draining a buzzer beater to single-handedly put the Cavs back in control of their series against my Indiana Pacers. But LeBron wasn't the only guy who went off last night, with Russell Westbrook putting up 45 points and leading OKC in a 25-point comeback, all in the third quarter, against the Jazz to keep their season alive. Russell Westbrook was off the charts in the second half of that game. It was fabulous. It does not equal what LeBron James did in that game.
I thought Colin was off the show today.
Now, listen, I'm a Pacer fan. There were some dumb things the Pacers did. Why Victor Oladipo decided, I'm going to go one-on-one against the King? Why? I mean, I was mad at Nate McMillan. That was stupid. It had a predictable ending. Don't talk to me about a goaltending. LeBron James did what LeBron James. And then to come back and hit that three, that's a moment that will live 20 years from now. It's the same as Jordan's Elo shot. We won't remember Russell Westbrook's game against Utah.
Well, Westbrook had 45 points. LeBron had 44. So but in all seriousness, I expect LeBron to be doing these things. He has been very consistent throughout this first round of the playoffs, so that doesn't surprise me. But also, they were down by, or their lead was 12 points, and they had to come back from that, and it shouldn't have to come down to the last 3 seconds of the game if you're up by 12. So they lost that lead. That doesn't impress me with LeBron. However, Westbrook, they were down by 25, and in the third quarter, by the end of it, they were tied up. That's a big thing for me. He also had 45, 15, and 5, which is the third time in playoff history that has ever happened. For Westbrook to make a comeback like that is more impressive.
When they get eliminated in Game 6,
but are we really going to remember this from LeBron? Because I would argue, too, that in this series, it shouldn't be this close for LeBron and the Cavs either.
Listen, 45 is nice. I'm going to remember 45 on 39 shots. He is so inefficient, Christine. Listen, I'm not a Westbrook hater, but I'm just saying, like, I'm watching that rally. It's like Westbrook or Paul George. Like, they were equals last night. Paul George was on fire. If I'm a Laker fan, hey, listen, Paul George has 34.
Paul George
LeBron,
was great.
obviously, significantly better than
Yeah, no,
Westbrook.
Paul George was great, but I have to go with Westbrook. And now LeBron, come on now, you can go either way, so I can't argue with you. But 20 down, 25 points, on that streak, he had 20 of those points. Now, they needed that win because they have to go back to Utah. They need that win just for Oklahoma City, the franchise. They want to keep extending themselves. So I think
Rod.
I got to go with Westbrook. I can go with LeBron.
You are of the generation that can remember the ELO moment.
Absolutely.
And why it's lived on forever.
Absolutely.
And that was an inconsequential playoff game of some sort. You're telling me this LeBron thing isn't going to live forever? That three, that shot, that moment, him jumping on the table. What Westbrook, again, it was nice. It was great. It was phenomenal. But it's gone. We will not be showing highlights from that.
I think it's going to depend on what happens in this series. You know, if they lose the series, it doesn't mean as much. So they have to extend
What about
this.
the fact that LeBron looks around the huddle, okay? Every time down the court in the fourth quarter. All right, what are we going to do? Who are we going to go to? There's nobody. It's LeBron.
Absolutely.
It's his show.
Absolutely.
He's all alone out there. At least Westbrook has, Carmelo Anthony, who's a shell of himself, who was benched last night. And he also has Paul George. LeBron has nobody. 44 of almost half the team's points. It was a ridiculous performance.
LeBron in that three is a highlight for sure, but I don't think it's one of those moments that will just be a classic forever. You really think this is like a classic?
That made him more clutch than Michael Jordan, according to clutch time statistics.
Honestly,
that's what the numbers say.
We're not going to do that.
But I don't think
We're not going to do that. Not the
Why
clutch.
shouldn't have
Not
to
the
be in the
clutch
first
time.
round of the playoffs having to have those kinds of clutch moments?
Right, but that's
in
a
the first
different
round of the playoffs.
Because
However,
he has no supporting cast right
why
now.
not? Because of himself.
That's
a separate argument. I get it, but that is his own fault.
Regardless of the situation, that is probably LeBron's signature moment. Just wait. Michael has the push off on Byron Russell in the shot. We remember that. But other than that, the ELO thing is right there. LeBron's had some terrific games, but that highlight will define him.
It's a great moment, absolutely.
What I love in a player is when he's down and he's got to turn it on, somehow find something inside of him to get it done. And that was an amazing third quarter.
Oh, no,
that's
Westbrook,
very, very impressive.
All right.
Well, I would take a stretch,
the
quarter
Jazz big
over
men
one play. You're looking for the highlight, but we're supposed to talk about what we're
LeBron
more impressed
scored
by.
44 points. It wasn't just one play.
On 24
like I said
shots.
at the beginning, Westbrook scored 45. So.
On 39
But just like you guys said,
do.
LeBron doesn't have as much help. And he has to be great every night. If they're going to win and go to the finals,
Rod,
he has to be
their
great.
number
every
two
night.
option is 37-year-old Kyle Korver.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's LeBron's second option. He's a one-man show.
But I'm just going by the game.
Kevin Love can't hold the basketball.
Just going by that moment last night, I think Russell Westbrook just having to come back. Because they're on the brink of elimination. If they got to go back to Utah, it's over. So I think they really needed that.
To a guy nobody is impressed with, LeVar Ball, whose brief adventure in Lithuania with his sons LaMelo and LiAngelo appears to be over. Apparently, the outlandish sports dad has pulled his two younger sons off their Lithuanian team due to a coaching dispute. Imagine that. Less than 4 months after making a huge show of dragging them there in the first place. All right, so the question here is his 15 minutes up, LeVar Ball? And I think there'll be a temptation to say this is it, that he's peaked and he's going down. I've given this some serious thought. His superpower is bluster, and they've done nothing to diminish his bluster. He will still be blustering LeVar Ball. People will still fall for the bait. He will remain in the news. This reminds me of like the Kardashians when they first came, oh, it'll end one day. And here we are 10 years later and $1 billion later, and the Kardashians still, and I'm not saying LeVar is gonna make a bunch of money or whatever, but in terms of his 15 minutes being up, he's gonna get a full 30 minutes.
But he's running out of options, right? Because the reason that he's famous is for his sons, and his son's skill is basketball, and he's losing all of his options to promote them via basketball. So what's he gonna do?
He's gonna bluster about Lonzo, who's still in the NBA.
Okay, but here's the thing too. So he's already taken them out of high school. He's taken them out of UCLA. He's taken them out of Lithuania. Now he's saying to the Lakers, if you don't draft draft and sign all of my sons, I'm gonna take Lonzo off the team. The common denominator there is him. It can't be all of these different places' faults. It has to be him at some point, and he's gonna run out of choices.
It's a really interesting moment you said where you said, look, I'm taking Lonzo off the Lakers if you don't bring him. Notice he hasn't said anything since that time. It's been like 2.5 months.
Because he knows it's all he has left.
Well, I wonder if, maybe he thought, geez, LiAngelo's coming up. NBA Summer League, we were huge hits last summer. Remember how many topics we did on this show? Let me see if I can get LiAngelo into the NBA Summer League with the Lakers, somebody, a team that needs publicity, Orlando, Atlanta. It is the Summer League. I mean, that seems to be his best shot because we know LaMelo. I mean, he's shooting 25% in Lithuania.
They need publicity. However, they also really need a superstar. And if they have any hopes of getting LeBron or Paul George,
or both,
signing more Ball brothers, probably not the best idea.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think LeVar has become the star. I mean, we can say what we want. It started out with Lonzo and you have the other two brothers, but he's been the star. When you go to the Laker games, they're lined up to have his autograph. So I'm with Jason. I think at the end of the day, he's probably on the plane thinking about what he's going to come up with, what he's going to say to create some a kind of controversy, or, at the end of the day, he'll be on the shows and he'll be talking about something. So I think he's made it. I mean, the sons, Lonzo's going to be a good player. He has two other sons, but I think LeVar has kind of made his way into the celebrity.
Yeah, LeVar seems impervious to success or failure. That's irrelevant. Failure doesn't harm him. He doesn't have to be successful. Again, we started out with Lonzo's better than Jason Kidd and Steph Curry, and then he has his rookie season. It's like, oh my God. I don't know if you've heard this, Rob, but I've nicknamed we've had the finger roll from George Gervin. Lonzo's got the fingers crossed. He shoots and crosses his fingers.
I like that.
So, again, so he doesn't need success in order to keep the LeVar train rolling. And I think, Rod, you've made a great point, is we thought he was doing this to make his sons the stars, and what we found out is it's about him being the star.
I always do that.
But that star is still gonna shine
He's
bright.
still got his Facebook show, right? Who's to say that can't transition to a TV reality show involving LaMelo, since he doesn't appear to have NBA talent? I mean, there's always going to be something for these
Big
guys.
Faller brand.
And I think it was about the kids, but I think he's kind of created his own space because of the kids. But one thing I have to say about LeVar, I love the concept when he first came out about him taking control of his kids, and I just think he went about it the wrong way. If he had a little more humility, I think he could have got some things done.
That's just not his brand. But if it was all about the kids, why is he creating these situations for at least two of the brothers that they don't have a place to play basketball anymore?
No, I agree.
Because we were praising him for, hey, you got your kids scholarships. This is going to be great.
But they drive
then
a
they
Ferrari,
don't even...
Christine. Come on.
But here's the thing. Lonzo's money's going to run out. If he's buying the whole family Ferraris, that's not going to last forever.
I'm not, at this point, I'm not sure, or my position on LeVar is everything at all times is always about LeVar. I'm not sure, particularly at this point, given all the evidence, I'm not, because again, you made the point about controlling his sons and controlling his kids. And I think the proper role for a parent is to nurture their kids so they can control themselves and take care of themselves. And so LeVar's got the whole thing upside down. we've had a son over in China embarrass UCLA and the family. This situation to me with Lithuania is embarrassing. They're abandoning this team with 2 games to play, and they could be relegated to a lower league because of this, because they won't have these 2 guys. This is a very selfish guy that I don't think he's put his kids in the best position. It's all about LeVar.
But it's going to be interesting because at some point in time, Lonzo's going to grow up a little bit. And I think to some point in time he's going to look for his space, and I think it'll be interesting.
All right, welcome back. Seth Joyner, D'Angelo Hall, and Christine Leahy are back. Let's move to a guy with a lot at stake tonight, Lamar Jackson, who has had to deal with a lot of detractors in the run-up to the draft, but there's at least one guy who appears to have taken a shine to the dynamic quarterback, Bill Belichick, who reportedly not only brought Jackson to Foxborough, but also held a private workout with him in Florida. Jackson appears to have hit it off with Belichick, saying, quote, "He's cool and laid back." All right, it seems that the Patriots have a bit of love affair with Lamar Jackson going on, and with Tom Brady at 40 years old, they need to think about who the next guy is.
That's debatable.
And if you really like a guy and you're sitting at 23, maybe there's an inkling to go up and get him to make sure you get him. I wouldn't do that if I'm the New England Patriots, no matter how much they like him. I think being a first-round pick will put some pressure on Lamar Jackson. I think he's a second or third-round quarterback. I wouldn't trade up to get Lamar Jackson. If he falls to you at 23 or 32, I'm okay with him taking him.
Well, it doesn't seem like he's going to go higher at this point unless some team hears that the Patriots are interested. They want to make sure they get in beforehand. The whole thing is fishy to me, though, because why not just keep Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, why did they do that? Because he's so good, and now you're worrying about Lamar Jackson late in the first round.
Couldn't pay both guys.
Yeah,
and Tom
but
wanted to continue to play.
you'd still have him for another year, and then you could work it out because, as you said, you think that Tom Brady is going to retire, and then maybe they say, all right, Jimmy is so good, we're going to make sure we keep him around because I guarantee you he's a better option than Lamar Jackson.
Water under the bridge. Would you trade up to get Lamar?
The only way I would trade up is if that one team that you feel like who's in the vying for him, which I think is kind of Arizona Cardinals at 15, if that team is still sitting there kind of pondering, if all the other quarterbacks are gone, they have enough ammo to where they could move up. Should they? I say yes, because that's the guy that we're hearing that they really like. And there's no better place than New England. I've never been up there and played. Well, I've played a game there, but I've never been in that organization. But from the outside looking in as a player who's played the last 14 years, I think at some point everyone's dreamed about playing in New England. Just because it's one of the probably most stabilized organizations I've seen since I've been in the league.
Have you talked to some players who have left
I have.
and heard what they said?
I've talked to players who've been there who loved Bill Belichick, but at times hated him, too.
Yeah.
But I don't mind that. Long as the coach tells me what he wants me to do, what he expects from me, I don't mind falling in line and playing good soldier. I did it for Mike Shanahan, and I was labeled the knucklehead. And I ended up being one of the best guys in that locker room and one of the guys that Mike could turn to if there were any problems. And so I like the way Bill Belichick runs his ship. Could it be a little loose at times? Or should it be a little looser at times? Absolutely. But it's nothing harder in a locker room than giving young men too much leeway and then trying to rein them back in. That doesn't happen. I'd rather you be tough, hard-nosed.
I see it from the youth level, which I've coached, to high school, to college. They just anything that restricts them. They don't want any parts of that. Okay.
So you think Lamar would not work with Belichick?
No, I think Lamar would be
perfect.
Think about this.
Because he's one.
What head coach and what offensive coordinator is best for this kid to learn under? They do a great job of developing quarterbacks. They've shown that they can do that. Brissett, Garoppolo, Tom Brady. Perfect scenario for him because, he's going to be in a situation where he's going to need some time. Who better to stand behind, to work on your mechanics day after day, to learn the mental aspects of the game day after day, okay?
Would you trade up to get him?
If that's the guy that they want, then I say go get him because, the dynamic part about Lamar Jackson is he lends Bill Belichick something that Bill Belichick has never seen in a quarterback. the ability that when everything breaks down, instead of throwing the ball away or laying on the ground, making something big happen. And, you know, he can make those short to intermediate passes. That's what Brady does. He'll pick you apart, and he makes you do something that you don't really want to do. He makes you get out of character. And the minute that he sees you out of character, now he strikes down the field. But all they do is they methodically move the ball down the field. And Lamar Jackson can do that.
But he is also, so you pointed out millennial, and he is, obviously, but he is the quiet kind of guy. Players really like him. He's got a very strong mom, so he responds really well to structure. So maybe this would work well. But on the other hand, Tom Brady is not a millennial, and we see that heavy hand is now affecting him in the wrong way, and it's seeping into other areas of the locker room, especially with what Gronk has said today about being pliable, right? So maybe it's getting to be too much. So maybe players now, if you were to talk to them, wouldn't feel the same. Because if Brady's out there complaining, a lot of people are.
I like Seth's point about the development of quarterbacks because Matt Castle didn't even play in college and had success with the New England Patriots. All right, to another guy whose future is up in the air, Dez Bryant. The former Cowboys star is currently unemployed after getting cut by Dallas earlier this month. But reportedly, Dez turned down a multi-year offer from the Ravens because he would prefer a one-year deal that would give him the chance to earn a bigger free agent payday next season. Dez looks foolish here. Dez is old. He's lost a step. Why would you, after the season he just had, why would you want a one-year deal?
Because it's what guys before him have done. It's the norm. When you get cut, especially after free agency's already hit or in the middle of it, if you're not there opening day of free, or really a week or two leading up to free agency because we know the deals are already done at that point, if you're not able to be signed then the plan and the blueprint that numerous guys before him have done is they sign a one-year deal. In that deal, they also structure it to where you can't franchise me is in the language. I did the same similar deal. And so.
Had you lost 3 steps?
Nah, I had lost 3. I had lost 3. But like I said, Dez is a guy who still feels he's a dynamic playmaker. I said the only way I see Dez still being successful in this league is coming to grips with the realization that he is a great number 2. He needs to be Robin, and he needs to have a Batman. And so he still thinks he's Batman. And so until he mentally figures out, hey, I need to be a great number 2,
Julio Jones.
Then it's not going to matter. But, yes, this is the plan. This is what you do. Sign a one-year deal, ball out, make a lot of plays, and you can get a big contract.
If you don't believe in yourself, then what's the whole point?
Exactly.
Okay, let's be honest. Once you hit 30 years old in the NFL, you are systematically on one-year deals until you get out of the game anyway, because it's going to be structured in a way where the teams can get out with a little bit of pain. So why not bet on yourself? Why not bet on yourself that, and listen, this is a motivated Dez Bryant. You can talk about separation and all that stuff. This guy is motivated to show Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys and everybody else who's been talking junk about him all year long that he can still play. Now, picture this. You talk about a number 2. I say every great wide receiver at some point, teams have become smart enough to take him out of the X and Y and put him in the slot. Now, I would love to see a team pick Dez up and put him in the slot. You got 2 yards of space that takes care of the space and the separation issue, and you got Dez with that kind of strength running option routes. Now you got something that you can work with, and he can beat a 2 or a 3 cornerback up the seam on a shake route. I don't know on the outside, but I'm just thinking outside the box where he fits and how he could get back to being the Dez that he wants to be. And I see Larry Fitzgerald, Bruce Arians came in Arizona, moved him into the slot. Take Dez.
Dez is Larry Fitzgerald.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I think you give him a better chance to be successful if he can't get off the bump and he doesn't have the speed to beat you downfield. Put him in the slot where he has a decided advantage.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to be okay saying, all right, I'm the number 2.
No, not at all.
He's the kind of guy who's, I've got to believe in myself, and now he has a chip on his shoulder, so why not use that chip on your shoulder to prove yourself, and he'll probably be better than he was last year. And I agree, go with those one-year deals and try to make as much money and prove yourself.
He don't need a chip on his shoulder. He need a spur in his
You know what, though? Dez has never been the fastest guy. I can pull out film of Dez as a rookie, and the separation is still about the same. He beats you because he just has stronger hands at the top of that route. I've seen numerous times where DBs have their hands on the ball and Dez takes it from him. So he still has elite receiver qualities. And I've said all along, if he went inside, it would definitely prolong his career. And he's that type of guy that you want inside because he's great run after the catch. And those guys get the ball quick and they make plays.
Physical.
And very physical. But I don't think Dez will embrace that role. He wants the role of superstar.
A little bit of humble pie. A little bit of humble pie. Make him do what he got to do.
Get the money.
All right, welcome back. Christine Leahy is here for Last Call. Let's move to that controversial non-call from last night's Cavaliers game. Everyone watching has said LeBron's block on Victor Oladipo was goaltending. Well, the NBA just announced that the refs got the call wrong and that it was, in fact, a goaltend. As a Pacer fan, I don't care. Oladipo made the dumb decision to go one-on-one against LeBron James. What did he expect was going to happen?
Well, I get that they would be upset, but I always say that end of game calls, you can't really say that they would change the outcome of the game and be upset about it because you shouldn't put yourself in that position in the first place. If it's down to a tie or a couple points at this point, it could go either way.
They blew
and
the
refs
call.
Make bad calls.
They blew
they
the
did.
call
It
the
was,
play before. LeBron didn't knock it out of bounds. The Pacers did. They got nothing to whine about here. This is last call, Christine.
But it was goaltending.
So what?
Because,
we blew the game. We shouldn't have went one-on-one against LeBron.
Because it was goaltending, and that might change what LeBron did next.
Christine,
he might not have tried to go for that
We're going to move
three.
on.
Why?
Because I'm going to say goodbye. We're going to miss you.
Oh, we're doing like
we're doing a goodbye.
I thought this was a weird subject.
No, we're doing
I was like,
a
why are we
goodbye.
debating
We're doing a
block?
goodbye. We're going to miss you terribly. I'm personally going to miss you terribly. We have some parting gifts for you.
I knew this was a trick.
I don't have this here with me, but we bought it. We purchased you Cardi B tickets.
No, you did not. Is that
October
for real?
26th with Bruno Mars at the Staples Center, 8 p.m.
You did not.
We have 2 tickets
this
for
makes
you.
my life.
Yes, it does. And I've got some things to help you out on that concert night. It is last call.
Jason.
Last call for alcohol as
my
well.
God.
This
Tequila.
is my favorite tequila.
Wow.
Casamigos. And then.
Thank you. Tequila and me do not do so well
and
together.
this is even better.
Oh.
Let you open that. That's some.
Hold on.
This is some.
Wait, can I? You
off
really?
the
I get Cardi
chains.
B tickets. You have no idea. That's the best gift I've ever gotten in my life.
I have Cardi B tickets.
Wow.
This is some off the chains.
Thank you.
You gotta open that up. Take it out and open it up.
So blinged out.
Yeah.
Or as Cardi would say,
got-
it's dripping.
There you go. You gotta open up.
Wow. Jason, thank you. Oh,
Something
it's
for you to
leopard.
party with. We're at the Cardi B
You know me
concert.
well. What are you trying to say about me with tequila, champagne?
It's
Cardi B?
last call. Time for
I get it.
alcohol.
Should we pop it
And-
now?
No.
Drink
no,
it in
no,
the
no.
speakers?
Do not pop that now. But
Well,
Christine,
thanks-
tell us.
thanks,
Give us a
Jason.
little bit more information quickly about what you're going to be doing.
So I'm going to have a show. It's on FS1. It's going to start end of summer, early fall, you know, when we usually do those shows. And it will be me. And I cannot tell you much more at this time.
Will
but
I be
will
a
if
guest
you-
on the show at any point? That's the number one question.
Am I
will I
going to
be
be
a
a guest
guest?
on your show?
Absolutely. Haven't you always been a guest on this show? Haven't we
Yeah, but
opened our arms wide?
you're giving me massive parting
Because
gifts.
you're leaving the herd, and we're going to miss
know.
seeing you here every day.
I'm going to miss being here every day.
It's the highlight of my day to see you in the
it's my
makeup room
highlight
getting
to
your
see
hair
you,
done.
Jason, and to be on Speak for Yourself. I've had the best time on this show. I'm gonna have the best time drinking this tequila and going
That
to Cardi
tequila's
B.
awesome. That tequila, be careful with
You
that
coming with me
tequila.
to Cardi B?
We've got 2 tickets. It might, I don't know if Cardi B, I've seen,
Yes.
see you tomorrow. Enjoy the draft.